This episode is brought to you by the RVA Podcast Network. Find more information at rvapodcast.org.
Season 3 of The Pass is here. I know it's long overdue. We have a new intro. We still got the same content. Well, actually, it's a little bit of new content because there's new things going on in 2019. So buckle up. We got a lot of things to talk about on The Pass. What's up, y'all? What's going on? Episode 267 of The Pass is here. How's everyone doing? I'm your host, BT. I initially wasn't sure if I was going to do a live recording or if I would edit and modify as needed, but I decided to go ahead and just record as normal and kind of flow with the show. I have been on the fence of whether I plan on using IGTV for future recordings. If anyone has any feedback or perspective on that, then I would definitely appreciate it. What's going on, Jarrell? Welcome to the show. So we're just kind of going to see what my options are with doing that. But right now, I'm primarily going to stick to recording live and, let y'all get this great quality audio as is. And then afterward, it'll be available for 24 hours. So hopefully I can get shows uploaded within that 24 hours. Fingers crossed. But anywho, we're going to go ahead and jump right into the show. There was a lot that happened. Right. Yeah. Glad you caught it on time, man. Appreciate it. There's a lot that happened, but I'm not going to really hit too many major points. I'm going to try to talk about as much as I can. Audio is probably going to say I'm fine on IGTV or Instagram Live. My audio for the podcast, we're going to see how it goes, and we're just kind of going to play it by ear. But with all of that being said, let's talk football. Well, before we do football, before we do football, I can do Fantasy League now since it's now my weekly trend. I'm not going to do a tab on the podcast of my team because there's no need, but last week didn't have too rough of a week. Most of my players did okay. I noticed with the league that we're in, you got to average at least 11 or 1,200 to kind of stand a chance. Right now I'm at about 900, so I'm kind of teetering that line, but I'm hoping that I can do some off-season acquisitions or get some PTPs, if you want to call them that. For those who may not know what that means, that's your primetime players. So I am looking. I did let someone go, but they didn't actually officially leave my roster, so I'm going to see what I can do about that if I want to get rid of him altogether. That's Miles Turner. I've been having him playing, forgetting that he was out for games, so that kind of caught me in the long haul. I let Ed Davis go, which I don't know if that was one of my best decisions. I let a couple guys go that I was shocked by. Ed Davis, Jay Crowder, and I'm now trying to look at getting Miles Turner out of there. So just giving that update or that breakdown. So our sports fave, as most of you all love, my weekly picks that go worse and worse every week. Well, last week I did okay. I think I was 10-4. This week I was 5-8. I don't know what happened. I don't know who was trying to sabotage me, but it looked like everybody that I was trying to go for to win did not bring it. So it kind of put me in a rough spot. My record overall is 60.36. So I did drop a couple percentages due to a lot of losses. So hopefully this week, my teams that are solid wins will actually win solidly or comfortably. And we'll kind of see what happens. We'll be jumping. Well, as I always like to do, before I talk about the upcoming games on Sunday, I'm going to talk about the Thursday night game. And actually, you know what? I'll say that part for pass the message, because I was a little under the weather last week, and I'll talk about some personal stuff. But anyway, Oakland did play the Chargers last week, or not last week, but on Thursday. It seemed like it was a decent game, but for whatever reason, Phillip Rivers couldn't close it out, and Oakland did end up winning by 2. That did put them above 500 at 5-4. The Chargers, on the other hand, are 4-6. They wore the rendition of the powder blue. It's not the traditional powder blue that everyone adores. I know at one point trying to get the LaDainian Tomlinson powder blue jersey was like a rare commodity. It's kind of like their jersey and the Tampa Bay's creamsicle jerseys, if I'm correct, are the two that most people you'll hear frequently talk about within the process. And yes, I'm popping water during the show. Jumping into this week's matchups for starting on Sunday at 1:00, we have Baltimore going against Cincinnati. Picking Baltimore unless something strange happens. I'm not sure if AJ Green is going to be playing or not, but there is talk he may play, but I'm still picking Baltimore for this game. Buffalo against Cleveland. Cleveland's still not showing me enough to really join the wave or ride the wave yet. I'm going to pick Buffalo for that one. Atlanta at New Orleans. Atlanta still hasn't shown any defense. New Orleans is still progressing. Still no Breeze, but there is the possibility that Bridgewater could be the guy that will be looked at as a high commodity in free agency in the upcoming weeks after the season's over. But right now, he is kind of their guy. So New Orleans, I'm going to pick for that matchup. Giants at Jets. Both teams don't have really phenomenal records, but it's kind of like a toss-up. I'm going to take a surprise pick, even though it's not a big pick. I'm going to pick the Jets for this one. Kansas City's going against Tennessee. I will be going for Tennessee, putting both teams as one team. So that's almost like a random draw. I'm going to pick Kansas City for this game, and it's because Mahomes will be back. And that's what I was referring to, looks like, in last week's show when I was trying to talk about the quarterback for Kansas City. I don't know how I had a dirt moment, but yeah, Kansas City will have Mahomes playing this week, which will help them out. And those who are playing Fantasy League will probably be glad to have him back. So there's that factor. Arizona's going against Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay still hasn't really shown me anything yet. I'm going to pick Arizona for that one. Detroit goes against Chicago. I actually have Chicago winning that game. Probably will be a close game, but, hey, we'll see what happens. Miami against the Colts. Colts are still looking good. They're still above water, doing their part, fulfilling their role of winning. So I'm going to pick the Colts for that one. Always love when I have to be put in that position. We are in our 4:00 games, by the way, including that Miami Indianapolis game. Carolina against Green Bay. I would love to pick Carolina for this game. I don't know what Carolina we're going to get, especially after getting mollywopped by San Francisco last week. Aaron Rodgers, what more is there to say? Obvious hands down MVP candidate. So I'm going to pick Green Bay for this one. If they lose, if Green Bay loses this game, and I'm saying this on podcast, and I'm going to make sure I have this edit ready for when I say it, I will pick the Panthers for the rest of the season. That's how odd of a season I've had this year with my cardiac cats. So that's where I'm at. Rams at Pittsburgh. Still haven't seen much from Pittsburgh to really make me choose otherwise. I'm going to pick the Rams for this one. The 8:00 game, Minnesota's going against Dallas. Both teams have similar records. Going to give a slight edge, like very, very, very slight edge to Minnesota. And finally, for the Monday night game, before I recorded, I was on the fence of this matchup. I was initially gung-ho and selecting it crystal clear, bright as day to pick Seattle for this game. But I still think the San Francisco Kool-Aid is real, and we just need to accept that they're a good team. So I'm picking San Francisco for this one. Now, I know I'm probably a week off because I don't know why though we played San Fran last week, but I don't believe we did. Carolina, that is. But a lot of times when the loss hit, it sticks. And actually, yeah, we played Tennessee last week. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But I'm picking San Fran to beat Seattle in that game. Those are my picks. They have already been loaded into my Evernote. We will hope that our record will stay at a good, stable place. And that's all I can give you. Next up on our list is, and I want to make sure I'm not jumping out of order with this, we officially have our first college football playoff listing of teams. It's kind of like first 4 in, first 2 out. And right now, as of right now, the first four in are Ohio State, LSU, Alabama, and Penn State, which weirdly and oddly leaves Clemson and Georgia on the outside. Now it gets kind of interesting, and I'm going to try to read this article a little bit, but I'm going to kind of give you some playoff scenarios and just kind of think some stuff through. Number one, first and foremost, LSU and Alabama play tonight at 7. Those two are 6 o'clock, I believe. They're going to be playing this evening. That game is going to have a big effect on where things stand with the bracket with these teams. That could possibly move either Georgia or Clemson into the mix, and it also based on how they play in their respective matchups. But as of right now, Alabama and LSU is going to be down to the game to watch. I believe Alabama and Georgia will still have to meet later on down the pike, but as of right now, and Georgia's in an interesting scenario because Georgia's 7-1, so you also have to look at that factor. Okay, so one of my comments on Instagram, my friend Jarrell just posted, Bama's going down today. So I'm going to ask, just to be hypothetical, so we can have like a little content for the show, how bad do you think Alabama's going to lose? And I'll let you comment on that in a moment. In the article, while he's doing that, the first college playoff ranking of the season has Ohio State as number 1 with the champion Clemson on the outside. It's the first time that they have been ranked number 1 in the CFP era since 2014. The Buckeyes followed by LSU, Alabama, who have been ranked either first or second in the AP poll for the past 4 weeks, and will face each other in a blockbuster matchup Saturday at Tuscaloosa. He said less than 1 possession. So, okay, I can see that. I mean, I think what's interesting. So before I continue with this article, what makes LSU an interesting story is the defense, and we really haven't heard LSU making a lot of noise because LSU just kind of been going through their games plan. Alabama we're going to hear about because Nick Saban is always going to be talked about. And yes, you're tying into my point. Alabama's defense is nasty, like bottom line. There's no denying or ignoring that part. But LSU has a pretty good defense as well, so it's a matter of, and also this might be an odd X factor, the quarterbacks on both sides of the ball could play a major role in the outcome of this matchup as well. So that's kind of where I'm at. Even though my friend isn't listening now, he'll probably listen later. Penn State rounds out the top 4. They did surpass Clemson, and the Nittany Lions in the top 4 are in the top 4 for the first time in school history. They are playing against Minnesota on Saturday. So that's kind of the story right now. Hey, what's going on, Rachel? Thank you for welcome to the show. Appreciate you being in. We have, and finally, the only other team that's undefeated right now that's in like top talk is Baylor. And then they go over more information regarding that. So that's where we are with the matchups and the standings as of right now. Now, this is obviously going to change between now and Tuesday, but this is our solid 4 for college football. Normally I would stay college basketball, but I'm going to go ahead and go to pro hoops. And I have an article. I'm not going to use the article. The article is going to be there for PR, but I'm going to kind of freestyle a little bit with this story. The NBA has a problem. The NBA has a funny problem because it's a problem that was not a problem before, but it's suddenly become a problem. Anyone that watches basketball has heard of it. I've never heard of it or knew it as being such a thing in the NFL, but it's definitely talked about in the NBA. It's called load management. Okay, Brian, what is load management? Well, I'm glad you asked. Load management basically is a way of trying to control or factor in what players should or shouldn't play certain games. The NBA went going through its transition of more back-to-backs and also trying to keep players healthy because there's factors of looking at if teams have potential of making the playoffs or some things just occurring in a different manner. I'll put it like that. We saw this, and this is probably talked about in this article, and it's a coincidence because Kawhi previously played for the Spurs, And I don't know if he was there when, and I don't know, my bad, y'all. Yes, load management is a gift and a curse. And I'm going to explain a little bit about that. That's why the article that I have, I'm not really going to use because it's just talking about Kawhi's situation and also the Clippers being fined and all that. And I don't know, I'm kind of over that story because I noticed, and this is a sidebar, but I'm going to get back to what I was referring to. The story, and I manage a sports group with one of my friends who's in the Instagram chat right now. The load management story got a lot of attention, and it got people to talk that normally would never post anything in the group, which I think is good. But I realized it's something that I won't say is triggering, but it definitely gets a lot of attention when talked about because it is one of those things, like Jarrell said, it's a gift and a curse. Here's the backstory of kind of where this all evolved. If you go back, we'll say, I don't even know when Tim Duncan retired. I would say like 2014, 2015, around that time. Tim Duncan was with the Spurs. And Greg Popovich had to pick a cordial way of saying, hey, this player can or can't play. We're going to bench him or we're going to rest him for the sake of the playoffs. One of the games that they played, they put DNP. And most of the times when they put DNP for did not play, it's, injury or just, not necessary, things of that sort. Well, for this one, they put DNP old. And they were doing it as a mockery, but it was also as a presentation of saying, hey, I'm keeping an eye on how my players are or aren't playing or when I want them to be on the floor and things of that sort. You have that timeline of Duncan being involved. You have, at the time with the Spurs, there was Tony Parker, Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili. All three of those guys alone were in the load management battle. But it wasn't talked about as load management as much then because it was the Spurs. We knew they were old. No one will ever use the term washed up with those three players because they all are first ballot Hall of Famers. Bottom line. Then you progress and you have a superstar who comes in as a superstar but not expected to be a big name superstar known as Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi joins the team. They win a championship. Everything is everything. Well, Duncan's getting old. Father Time's undefeated. Tony Parker doesn't stay with the team. He goes to the Hornets. And I think he did like a one-day contract to join the Spurs and retire. I'm hypothesizing or just kind of speaking of a random thought that could have happened. It probably did. I don't remember because it's been a while back. Ginobili's still with the team, but he's kind of like at the end of his point. And I think he just recently retired, if not last season, the season before. So that leaves Kawhi Leonard as kind of like the guy to do whatever he can with the team he has. Kawhi plays in the game against Golden State. And I can remember this game to this day only because I was in Virginia Beach when this game came on TV. I probably was walking the strip, and either I came back and it happened or it was about to happen when I got back. And they showed it on TV. Kawhi goes up for a shot. Zaza Pachulia gets under his foot. He's injured. He feels as though his treatment and care with the Spurs wasn't the best. Subject to opinion, but he's valid in that assessment because he's obviously on the team and he knows his health. You go through that injury. He goes through an off and on moment of playing for the Spurs, but basically didn't want to play and kind of found a way to say, you know what, when the all season comes, trade me or I'm going to be the worst teammate possibly known to me. They make that choice. They send him to Toronto. He's in Toronto. Now, this is where it gets even more interesting. Toronto, you didn't hear load management. If you really go back and look at it, there wasn't the term load management used a lot in Toronto. When LeBron got to LA, we saw it a little bit in Cleveland, but we really saw it in LA. Load management became a story. We didn't talk about it a lot with LeBron because it's LeBron. Everyone will define him as the GOAT, but that's subject to opinion, and I won't put him in that category just yet. Okay. Kawhi doesn't do the load management bit in Toronto, but he plays a substantial amount of games. Now he has won a championship. He leaves Toronto, and he makes this bold decision of going to the Clippers. The Clippers, him going to the Clippers was equivalent to generating what I would consider the NBA Jam trend of let's take two of the best players for every team and put them as your key factors or key players on the squad. Only problem is, even with Paul George going to the Clippers, who they ended up getting after, that was the only way Kawhi was going to join the Clippers, was that Paul George had to be involved. Boom, he's there. They got it set up. He's officially a Clipper. Paul George, health-wise, hasn't been 100%. So Kawhi's carrying the load, but he's not carrying the load because you look at the you look at the Clippers lineup. They have pretty good players. You have Montrezl Harrell. You have Patrick Beverley. You have quite a few guys on that team that can take the pressure off Kawhi. But Kawhi naturally is in that I'm going to run a team and I'm going to do what I need to do to win. It's been brought up and it's been speculated or talked about by other athletes. I don't know if Kobe's mentioned it. Jordan has made it clear. Load management was something that you didn't hear about or didn't see occur in, older forms of basketball. Basketball has changed a little bit now. And this is kind of what I think I was making my point to be in my sports group, but I'm going to make it here on the podcast. Because I mentioned I was going to talk about it on the podcast. Players play a lot more during the offseason than they have years ago. There are many more summer leagues. There are more basketball camps. Yes, thank you. They have Lou Williams as well. What the Clippers do. Players play a lot more basketball during the offseason. It's almost like, and this is something that a lot of the avid sports fans who are really adamant of looking at basketball and expecting it to be like it was in the 90s have to remember. AAU wasn't as big as it is now. Like, kids literally have more age on their body playing basketball in this generation of basketball than they did, say, 10, 15 years ago. Like, if you look at Lonzo, even though we didn't see it, Lonzo was in a AAU squad. Obviously, LaMelo was in an AAU team. Like, those guys who play like that, they're playing through AAU basketball. They finish AAU basketball and boom, they're into high school, like not training, but high school preseason games, which then leads them into high school regular season games, possibly making the playoffs, possibly going to states. Then you're playing in like All-American games, brand classics. And I'm giving you like the average athlete's timeline because it's how the basketball evolution of load management becomes a concern. Because then you have, okay, this kid goes to Duke. Matter of fact, for the sake of the conversation, we'll go with Zion because Zion's a perfect example. Zion's playing for his high school team. Junior year becomes a phenom. Before senior year, he's playing the summer league. Playing AAU basketball. He played against LaMelo, biggest game on stage. He plays in some practice games. He plays high school ball. Gets the state championship. I don't think they went big enough where they made it to like ESPN and all that, but they were. He was in the All-American game. Finishes the All-American game. Before he can even really get the savoring of the All-American, he's already in Duke. And he's playing basketball for Duke. And you're practicing, pushing yourself to the limit, only to get to your actual matchups against teams. They played against Kentucky, blew them out. We're going to talk about that in a second. Not that game, but that first game that always comes on the championship classic. But he plays through that game. He plays through all these other games. They play against North Carolina, and of course, as I call it, he got a flat tire. I'm always going to joke about it as being a flat tire until otherwise noted. He blew a shoe. It became the biggest story because everybody felt he should have just went straight to the NBA. He didn't, or that option wasn't available. They're trying to renegotiate that option into the league. And now we're looking at eventually he's becoming the number one pick, but now he's in the NBA and hasn't been playing. Now, with his case, they didn't call it load management. They said, look, he's injured. He's going to be out 6 to 8 weeks or up to anywhere from 8 to 12 weeks. We are not taking any chances. You might see him after Christmas. Hey, Ange, welcome to the show. Appreciate you coming in. And so that's where load management becomes a factor. And so now guys are making that a staple of, do I play or do I take a chance, or what are my options? And in the end of the day, it's up to the player, but it's also the team has to kind of chime in and be sure they're making a smart decision too. Because whether we want to admit it or not, and it's always going to be talked about, Kevin Durant should have never played in that game where he scored those quick 9 points on three 3-pointers. He should not have played. Anyone who knew basketball knew that shouldn't have been the case. Load management didn't come in as an option. Durant was trying to play. They were trying to push him. They knew he wasn't 100%. Your health is your number one concern because your body is why you're getting paid. For me, even though I'm not like pro making money off of doing this, if I don't have a voice, I can't record and do podcasts. I don't want to use this as a poor example, but if I don't have a computer or have an ability to type, I don't have a blog. But those things come into play are part of the equation as to how your routine is managed. So with athletes, if they don't have the body or the strength to play, it affects their possibility of playing. And I mean, as fans, yes, we want a player to play as long as they can. But if they're not in a healthy state to do it, it's no need forcing it, because then that just makes it a more dangerous conundrum. Kawhi is going to miss more games. We need to just accept that. But he's going to miss games on his terms. But what this load management part affected, and what the article is kind of stating, I'm paraphrasing, I kind of went into a whole topic barrage of information. But what this all presented and stated is, okay, we're playing Milwaukee. It's not about us playing Milwaukee and it being on ESPN. It's about, we're playing Milwaukee. We're going to see them again, but it's also, I need time to rest. The league is trying to get involved and put their hands into it, because they are looking at whether players are picking the right points and times to miss games, especially with it being televised games. Televised games, as well as teams who are expecting these players to come and play. They may never play at this venue again. Now, in this case, it was a little different because it was in LA. Now, if it was Milwaukee playing against the Clippers in Milwaukee, then I would see it a little different. But I think they're looking at it from the TV standpoint. I'm more so looking at it from it's a business and they are athletes and they need to make sure that they don't risk their health any more than what they do. Like, even Kawhi talked about it when he won the championship. He was like, I'm hurting right now as I'm doing this interview. Like, I'm waiting to go to the back and get iced down and get situated, pause. But he wanted to get his whole life, and I don't blame him. I honestly and truly do not blame him whatsoever. So that's all I have for that. I know that was like a whole bland, random timeline of information about the load management, but I wanted to kind of put that into a full perspective and just talk about that for what it was. So like I said, I'm not going to go over the article itself. If you want to read the article, you're welcome to. I'm going to have it in the show notes as I always do. And that's just kind of what it is. We're going to go into college basketball. A lot of teams have kind of shown us a little bit of what they got. UCLA looked good. They were able to win their first game. Washington beat Baylor. I'm really looking to see what Isaiah Stewart brings to this team, as well as possibly to the NBA, because they're already making it clear he's going. He's going to the NBA. There's no question about that. We got to see Memphis play his first game. We're going to get into that in a bit because that was a bit of a controversy. But basketball broke in with what we like to call the Championship Classic. The Champions Classic. Let me make sure I spell it right, because then that will help to give everybody a better perspective of what happened. Kentucky, Duke, Michigan State, Kansas all played. Michigan State played Kentucky, Duke played Kansas. They usually find a way to rotate these four teams into a game. Last year, like I mentioned, Duke played against Kentucky. Kentucky got exposed. I'm okay with it. I accepted that exposure because, number one, Zion was busting ass. Number two, RJ Barrett looked good. Like, RJ Barrett, we're seeing a good form of RJ Barrett in the NBA. We got to give him time. I think that's what hurts the NBA a lot of times, is that everyone wants immediate results, and you're not going to always get immediate results from players because they're human. And it has to be taken into account, but that's another story. But yeah, Duke was able to win against Kansas. It was a close game, and Michigan State lost to Kentucky. We did get to see Tyrese Maxey come off the bench and score 26 for Kentucky, which was a big story. And it was just a different, it was a more defensive based game than normal, which sometimes you need that to happen. And so that's kind of what we have. And that's kind of an overall view. They were making it clear that Ashton Hagans, who is the starting point guard for Kentucky, defensively, he is of sound mind, and you will definitely notice it as the season progresses. Kansas got exposed for a lot of turnovers. No surprise there. Hey, what's going on, Randy? Welcome to the show. I'm going to check out that interview you did with Tiffany because I was locked in. I think I might have said that last week on the show, but I'm really going to look at it because it caught my attention. So welcome to the show. I appreciate you. But yeah, that's where we are with those two games that occurred. Now, this story broke literally yesterday, and I'm glad it broke at the time when it did, because it just shows you the evolution of basketball, and it shows you that kids are going to do whatever they can to play for a team. It's just something you got to accept. So I'm going to play this video. Hopefully it's not too loud, and we're going to kind of talk about it a little bit. Hopefully no ads. Of course, there's an ad. So we'll let the ad run for a sec, and then we're going to talk about it a little bit. So I'm going to, while that's running, I'm going to kind of paraphrase a little bit. James Wiseman is ineligible to play for Memphis, but Memphis allowed him to play in the game that he was ineligible for, and Penny is taking his chances on letting him continue to play for the team. So we'll see what happens as this all plays out. But we're going to go ahead and play the video in just a moment. The audio, like, I love it. It's just, give me the loops. I want to talk, and then it starts going. It'll probably be extra loud too, because it's how I have the iPad set up. Oh, y'all mean. Y'all mean. All right. Give me a moment. Let's see what it does. If it doesn't play, then I'm just going to kind of talk about the story, because we are rotating through this conversation time and time again to the point where I'm not even going to say I'm tired of it. I'm just like, what are they expecting kids to do? I don't know at this point. This is my hot take. No, don't give me an ad. I do not own the rights to any of this music that you are hearing recorded. We're going to see what happens. Hopefully the video plays. All right. Gotta love it. All right, screw it. You know what? I'm not going to do this today.
This is an NCAA issue or something for Tennessee's High School Athletic Association. How do you read the situation here with Wiseman?
Oh, it's an NCAA issue. This is a garden variety eligibility case. An extra benefit was received from a booster. So the idea that Penny Hardaway later became the Memphis coach, it doesn't matter. The key issue here is that Memphis played James Wiseman when the NCAA said that he was ineligible. And there's an NCAA bylaw, 19.13, that says that if you run into a local court and get a restraining order or some sort of court order and rely upon that to play a player that is ineligible, and later on that TRO is vacated or otherwise dismissed, whatever it is, then there are all kinds of penalties that come your way. It's basically a threat from the NCAA saying, if we say he's ineligible, you better hold him out. And Memphis chose not to do that. Now, one of the remedies from 19.13, that NCAA bylaw, is the NCAA could declare Memphis ineligible this year for the NCAA tournament if it turns out they played an ineligible player in a game. I don't know if that remedy would be used, but that sanction is out there. It is highly unusual for an institution, after they get an eligibility ruling on the negative side, to play a player anyway. That's extraordinary. And I don't know if the NCAA is going to take this action, but if they decided to jump into federal court early next week, I don't think that TRO would hold up for very long at all, and we'd be back where we started.
All right, so hopefully you heard that, and if you didn't, it's okay. I know Instagram probably heard it pretty good, but I'm going to kind of paraphrase and talk about this a little bit because it's an ongoing problem with college basketball and with the NCAA as a whole. Most of these kids are talented. We know that. Getting them to get to certain schools is a challenge. Memphis's goal was to be or obtain the #1 recruiting class. I'm going to explain how, and this is going to be a wild conversation that I'm going to have. And I think they ended up becoming second only because Cassius Stanley made his decision and went to Duke. And that put Duke first because Duke has Cassius Stanley. They have Vernon Carney Jr. They have Goldwire. They have the kid who was from North Carolina that can play. I didn't even hear much about him until his senior year. And even then you really didn't see a lot of highlights per se. They were close. I thought they were going to get Anthony Cole, which I'm glad they didn't, but Cole, I don't know why I want to call him Anthony Cole. Cole Anthony. I keep trying to make him like J. Cole's family, but Cole Anthony, among other things. So, and speaking of which, and I don't know if I mentioned it or not, Cole Anthony did score 39 points in his first game with UNC, which actually set the record for most points by a freshman in their opening game with North Carolina. So props to him for that. But this story here, James Wiseman is projected to be the #1 draft pick for this upcoming draft. He played for the Tigers on Friday night, even though he was told that he would be ineligible by the NCAA. Or it already had been told to him. Now, it didn't make news or make waves to us until we'd say like 5 o'clock in the afternoon, 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening. The school said in a statement Friday that Penny Hardaway, before he was the Tigers coach, provided $11,500 to aid the Wiseman family's move to Memphis, Tennessee, without the player's knowledge. The NCAA deemed that Hardaway, a Memphis alum, was a booster at the time, according to Wiseman's attorney, Leslie Ballin. However, a Shelby County judge on Friday halted the NCAA ruling for the time being, making Wiseman eligible to play Friday night when the number 14 Tigers hosted Illinois Chicago. He went on to score 17 points on 4-4 shooting to go with 9 rebounds and 5 blocks. He put up an Instagram post that said, "All smiles, God got me." The NCAA then issued a statement in response to his appearance, saying the University of Memphis was notified that James Wiseman is likely ineligible. The university chose to play him and ultimately is responsible for ensuring its student athletes are eligible to play. Hardaway declined to comment on the statement after the game, stating when he was asked why he played Wiseman before the situation had fully resolved, he stated, "That's up to the school. We're just going to go about it legally moving forward. James has a right to do what he did, and we're moving forward from it." Memphis said the NCAA had declared Wiseman eligible in May, but months of investigation followed, ultimately revealing the finding of documentation of the moving expenses. Like they weren't going to find that. I'm not going to read this whole story. I'm going to play this part. This is where it really got interesting because Hardaway needs to realize that you're 2 years into your coaching gig. Your first year was trash. We will just call a spade a spade. Now this year is the year of you busted your butt. You can get your recruits in that you want and do it the right way and not let it be exposed. So, like, timing couldn't have been any worse on doing this, but that's neither here nor there. You just gotta be smart with what you do, especially as a coach and so you're an alum of the school, but you're also a coach in the sport.
Hey, here tonight. First of all, what was your reaction when you found out that he would be available for you?
Well, obviously, we didn't know that it was going to go that way, and obviously it happened for us, which I'm happy for James, but we'll have to see where this goes from here. That's just kind of where I want to leave it. Especially early in the process of what's going on.
Coach, it was quite a surprise to hear that James was going to play. Why allow him to do so before the situation has completely been resolved?
Well, that's just up to the school. We're just going to go about it legally moving forward. Obviously, James has a right to do what he did, and we're moving forward from it.
The NCAA released a statement during the game that read in part that Memphis was notified that Wiseman is likely ineligible. The university chose to play him and ultimately is responsible for ensuring its student athletes are eligible to play. Do you have a response to that?
No, I don't.
What did you say here tonight?
Okay, what I like about that interview is the last part when they ask him, the NCAA gave his response, and he responded, they said, what's your response to that? Or do you have a response to that? And he literally responded so fast. He was like, no, I don't. And I was like, wow, they have media trained you for this one. Good. And I don't blame you, because anything that is said could be used against him. I'm not going to say in the court of law, because anything that they mention, it could literally blow his whole setup, especially with this being, because this had to be a televised game when they, were interviewing him. Hardaway is going to be a witness, and they give more information about just him personally and where he played and what went on. This looks bad. This really is going to, and what makes this frustrating for me is because you don't know, especially based on some of the other kids who were there, how they all got in. Because I'm going to be honest, I had to really think about it when I looked at, and I'm not throwing names, but I'm just pointing out what I see. Cassius Stanley played ball at Sierra Canyon in California, and you're going to school in Duke in North Carolina? Okay. Doesn't add up to me, but okay, I'm gonna let you have it. Boogie Ellis, or whatever his name, it's not Ellis, but he's playing for Memphis as well. He was playing basketball in California. You ended up in Memphis, Tennessee. I think he had a scholarship to go to another school. He had initially taken a scholarship to Duke and rescinded and decided to go to Memphis. And I was like, something doesn't sound right. We talked about, we never talked about this story. And it's crazy. I'm spending 42 minutes on sports. That's shocking. We didn't talk about it, but I'm going to bring it up. Javon Quinterly decided he wanted to leave Villanova. Him and Villanova didn't work. We'll just say it that way. So your move or your option then is, well, I'm going to go ahead and go to try to go to Alabama. Now, disclaimer or transparent moment. If he had decided to go to Alabama when Avery Johnson was there, I could see it working. But Avery Johnson ain't there. So the coach that's there now, if you getting in, it's going to be in by the grace of a dream. That's just the honest, personal truth. Well, he got, tried to get there, ended up not making it, and now he's stuck. He's not going to get a scholarship, and even with him going to a team, he's still out for a year. Like, you have to be redshirted. If I were him, and I know I'm going off course a little bit, I would have gone ahead and tried to go to Iona, play with Isaiah Washington, and y'all could have been a deadly 1-2 combo, either as both guards or have Isaiah run one lineup, and then you run the second lineup. And that gives you the exposure and also gets Iona on the map. So this is something to think about, but that's neither here nor there. All right, we've spent almost 45 minutes on sports, and I am surprised. And also, my laptop looks like, okay, we're good. I was sitting here, Levels was having a moment. I'm like, oh, hold on. Don't act up on me now. But we are now at the stuff section of the podcast. And I guess I can use this part to give a school update, give a personal life update, and we'll get into, because I don't have a lot of stuff to talk about this week, but I'm going to get into it. Personally, I am getting to a better place with a lot of things. I didn't talk about this. You all as listeners probably just realized, okay, Brian recorded and uploaded. I think it was either Tuesday night. Yeah, it was Tuesday night. Tuesday night, I made a very bold and brave decision. I said, you know what? I'm just going to upload and not really do much with the editing. So if the recording didn't sound like it's best, and don't hold it against me, because normally I will tweak it to make sure it's decent. I just wasn't in the space to even deal with a podcast, and life was just life. Stuff was trying to fall apart, which kind of ties into the other part of it, which was my car. I had to let one. I've had a Chevy Aveo for for 9. I've had it for 9 years. It's a 10-year-old car. I got it in 2010, and it made it to 09. Oh, I'm sorry. It made it to 2019. And when I was able to get the car that I got now, it's a used car as well. Well, this car is a used car, but the car I initially had was a new car. The car that I have now it just worked at a good point, because the person who I got the car, who sold me the car, is the same person that sold me my Aveo. And she even said, she was like, I'm surprised that you were able to get the Aveo to last this long. And I was like, I'm surprised too. Because when the accident happened to me last year, I really thought up and down. I was like, I'm just going to let this car go. But it seemed like it was trying to hold on and do right. And obviously, things happen. So we're, moving forward. I'm probably going to do like a little post on my personal page of the switch up of going to a different car, and just, new, old and new, and all that type of jazz. So I'll mess around with that at some point. But school is good. The class that I am taking, I thought it would be something a little different for the desktop service support type deal, but it is basically just help desk customer service, just knowing how to be polite and professional with customers. And my networking class is a refresher, but it's also an eye opener, because it is definitely pushing me to do better with my schoolwork. So I'm just glad I'm doing that and just progressing, and everything has been a progress. And we'll talk about that a little bit on in the Pass the Message. So I'll save that for then. That being said, 2 companies have decided to do a couple of facelifts to their branding. One of them being Microsoft Edge. Anyone who knows me knows I respect what Microsoft does, and I am a Microsoft guy for the most part. But if there's one browser that I ran away from and avoided at all costs, it would have to be the Internet Explorer Microsoft Edge combination. Some companies still have to use Internet Explorer because they don't have a computer capable of getting Edge, or they're not going to make any devices or any programs that they're using compatible with Edge. And that sucks, because Edge is here. We got to accept it. Beginning the new look, they have kind of did a little bit of a switch up. They've changed the engine for it. It's a Chromium powered engine. The company is giving the browser a fresh look to match. In the wake of an Easter egg hunt, the software giant has revealed a redesigned Ocean Wave inspired logo for Edge that bears precious little resemblance to the Internet Explorer inspired icon of old. The E is still there if you look closely, but it's evident that Microsoft would rather you not associate the new app too closely with the days of IE only web pages and glaring security holes. The Chromium based Edge has been available in beta since August, but it's not certain just when the finished version will arrive. The Verge noted that Microsoft's developer and IT focused Ignite conference starts on November 4th, though. That may be the ideal venue to formally launch a browser that represents the sea change in Microsoft's approach to the web. I like it. I'm just glad they got rid of the E. because the initial Edge change still kept the original E. And I was just like, okay, if you want to give me Internet Explorer, give me Internet Explorer when it was on Windows 95 and Windows 98. But Internet Explorer after that, when Chrome started to get big, when Netscape Navigator was still relevant, even on my laptop now, I don't use it often, but I still have Firefox. I think Firefox and Thunderbird are two of the most underrated programs that exist, but that's, of course, my opinion. But that's just kind of where we are with the options on browsers. So Edge is getting its facelift, and you will see it soon if you haven't already seen it within apps. I'm not sure if I talked about this on the show or not, and I will feel really bad if I didn't, because we do have Microsoft has decided to put all of their programs into one playful option, which I think is great because it gives you that flexibility. Before I assume, because I don't want to jump too far ahead of myself, because sometimes I can see a story and I'm like, oh, well, I think I talked about it, but I don't remember. So give me one brief sec. And actually, we didn't. No, it's horrible. Let's change that now. So anyone who knows Microsoft and their suite and everything, they are aware that you are going to new Office app. Okay. No, I don't want that one. This one. Okay, we combined it. There we go. If anyone who knows of Microsoft knows that when you're downloading Office, typically you download one, the other, or all. You don't really think to look at them set like as one packaged program, other than if you're getting the student version of Office. And I'm not gonna lie, Word, Excel, PowerPoint was an ultimate cheat code, and that's kind of what this is implementing. They are making the Microsoft Office app as a combined app, and that is going to be in. My bad, because I should be more prepared. They took the Microsoft app and they're putting Word, Excel, and PowerPoint into one singular app. All of your Word, Excel, and PowerPoint files can be found in one timeline. When you go to a document, the UI takes on the color of that product. You still get the feeling of using separate dedicated apps, but now it's all done from one single download. All the tools and features you'd expect are there. The Microsoft app is much similar than downloading all three apps separately. The Home tab is where you'll find all of your recent documents, and the Actions tab has tools. Some of the tools include the ability to transfer files from your computer to a phone, convert images into text or tables, scan pictures into PDFs, and scan QR codes. Microsoft has also revamped the Office logo from the old boxy design to a new curvy square. So I guess this week was all about the redesign and the rebranding of businesses. So basically, if you are an Office user and you need just those main three, because most people don't need every single app that Office has. Most people don't use the database. They don't really use OneNote. OneNote is a good app, but OneNote isn't used to its maximum potential, in my opinion. Let me make sure because I don't want to jump too far with this one. So OneNote and Outlook, you really have like 50,000 different email clients if you don't have to or prefer not to have Outlook. And OneNote is kind of like just a note-taking app, but it's a note-taking app that you really have to know what you're doing to mess around with and be comfortable with using. So if you are looking to download the Microsoft Office app, that should be available. I've been trying to find it and I've been having a tough time. So I'm hoping sooner than later they'll have it, because once it's up, I will be using it frequently and often, not going to lie. Another company who did a facelift was Facebook, no pun intended. Facebook did go into a little bit of a change where they've changed the parent company's look. It is meant to give it a more bland and generic font. Looks like it would fit on a credit card. They provide a GIF which shows the word Mark displaying in different colors to represent the different brands. Blue for Facebook proper, green for WhatsApp, pinkish for Instagram. And that's anyone who knows or uses Facebook has to remember WhatsApp and Instagram. And I'm going to say this until I'm tired and until I'm blue in the face. You can have all the angst against Facebook. You can have all the angst against Instagram. You can dislike WhatsApp for whatever you feel or personally prefer. But at the end of the day, all of them are part of Facebook. One way or the other, you're using Facebook without using it. So just keep that in mind. The logo is supposed to be put to use in the coming weeks within Facebook products and marketing materials. We've known for a couple months that Facebook would soon add from Facebook within some of its other apps. And it turns out we're going to see this logo instead of the traditional blocky blue Facebook word mark. And you can notice this if you go into Instagram and you try to sign in. Like I'm already signed into my stuff, so it doesn't matter. But you will see the look where it says from Facebook. So that's going to be slowly coming down the pike, and we'll be looking forward to that. Before I go into the Apple rollout, props to Gmail's dark mode finally making it to the iOS phones or to the iOS world. I have been patient. I have been thankful. I am excited. We are now in dark mode on just about all the major apps. It had already been there for Instagram. Facebook's going to get it soon. Obviously, Facebook Messenger has it based on if you use the feature of adding a moon, and it gives you the option to do dark mode. And Facebook, like I said, Facebook should get it. I would see Facebook, if not getting it by the end of this year, they'll probably get it next year. Twitter, you already had that feature available. So little things make big differences. Hey, Tim, what's going on, man? Welcome to the show. And sticking to the iOS rollout, it looks as though my water bottle top fell and it's gone. And I don't know where it went. Oh, it's right here. Hold on. The iOS 13.2.2 update was released. If you are having any issues with multitasking on your device, download this app. I'm speaking from experience because I did and I needed it. iOS just released this update with a fix for a frustrating bug that led apps to close in the background much quicker than usual. Even a jump between two apps could be enough for Safari Windows to reload or to lose your place in a YouTube video. The issue is also fixed in the iOS 13.3 update that went into beta testing this week. But it's great to see that Apple is fast tracking a fix to all customers. It addresses an issue that iPhones could temporarily lose mobile signal after a call, and another where mobile data may temporarily not be available. I've randomly lost data despite my iPhone showing full bars when coming up from the subway occasionally. So hopefully that bug is now gone thanks to those issues. And I've experienced that. And I was like thinking it was just something, whether it was just me. I don't know if it's just, all right. So Timothy, who's in my Instagram video, just stated, I don't know if it's me. However, it seems as if iOS 12 was more stable than 13. Like you said, it's good that they're on top of fixing bugs within the new OS. 12 was fine. Apple does what they do, and there's really not much else I need to read based on this article. 12 was fine. 12 was weird because it was still certain security fixes that needed to be finalized. Just like this recording is about to be finalized. So I'm going to stop this recording on Instagram, and I'm going to continue the podcast. And we're going to just keep it going so y'all don't realize that it was a hiccup. So I will be right back. Share the story. And those of you who are listening to the podcast itself, give me a sec. I'm going to come right back. I know it takes time for me because I'm always slow. But anyway, so yes, I am back. My bad. I'm going to hope that I address this because I saw the comment, but I don't have a comment in front of me now since I made a new Instagram live. But I'm going to say this. The new update had to be done. But it is weird because this one had a lot more bugs come up in the last 2 months than they've had in quite some time. So hopefully by the new year, they can get it to a stable point, but we'll see how it goes. And that's kind of all I have for that. We are near the end of the show, and we have our ass of the week and our pass of the week and of course our pass the message. Before I get into either of those things, I am going to talk music, and I'm here to tell you all I'm not too sold on the Jacquees album yet. I think I'm still early listening to it, but it didn't stick. King of R&B. If you want to listen to it, you're welcome to do so. Big Boy, what's up, JV? Welcome to the show, man. Appreciate you coming in. Doja Cat has a new album that just came out called Hot Pink. A lot of people are not going to give her credit for their own reasons. Welcome back, Tim. And I understand that, but Hot Pink isn't too bad of an album. They put the Juicy remix with Tyga on there. I'm with it. Rules is there. Rules, I like Rules, and I like Bottom Bitch. I also like Cybersex, and also Say So. So those all are good listens off of this album, off of this listen. Trying to see what else came out that I may recommend. I got a chance to listen to In My Room. It didn't stick for me personally, but also I got a different ear for music, so it wasn't one of my go-tos. I did listen to The Juice Volume 2 by Emotional Oranges. All right, so I got thrown a wild card, and I'm going to talk about this real quick. Is Doja Cat better than Cash Doll? Transparently speaking, Cash Doll is not someone I would listen to on a regular basis. Now, I also am a fan of music, not just getting on a mic and performing and thinking you're doing something. So Cash Doll, I did listen to her album, and I want to say I talked about it in my AirPod Escape on my music sesh a couple of weeks ago, but it didn't stick. And I always bring this conversation into play when I talk about this with artists and with music. Streaming and digital makes consuming music very, very, very difficult, only because a song can come out or an album can come out, and if it didn't hit you at the point that you were expecting it to, it's gone, and that's the end of it. That's kind of the cleanest way that I can answer that or give you my opinion on that artist or that music. And that's kind of it. Like I said, like last week, Sam Smith did I Feel Love. No one probably who listens to that song or will listen to it is going to have a clue what Sam Smith got that from. They probably haven't even heard the original song. But that's also me being a listener in a different aspect with music. So it's hard to consume every song or every album because you literally have to just invest time to just disconnect from people and listen to music, which sometimes can be hard and can be challenging, but it's all about priority, I guess. So better than Cash Doll, I personally am going to say yeah. Cash Doll album didn't stick with me very well, but that's also because Cash Doll isn't like somebody that I'm like running to, oh, I got to catch her album. So that's just my take on it and her music as a whole. Now to our ass of the week. And I guess they both would be considered pass of the week, but we're going to just talk about it because all I can say is wow. Make sure I get everything organized. First up, in Maryland, I'm gonna say this as nice as I can. People with these chicken biscuits or these chicken sandwiches gotta relax like ASAP. Maybe I just don't have a crave for chicken that much, or I've just not hit that point where it's that bad that I gotta like do what some of these people have been doing over this chicken. Something is in it, or something is in people's minds that has got us going bananas about something that has been in existence, but didn't really hit everybody's attention until like out of nowhere. As many of you know, the chicken sandwich is officially back. Cool, great, all well and good. But for whatever reason, someone was stabbed to death in Maryland over the sandwich. A man was stabbed to death at a Maryland Popeyes after an altercation involving the restaurant's popular chicken sandwich. We'll talk. I'm gonna respond to that in a sec. There's a comment that's on my Instagram that I'm gonna respond to in just a moment. After an altercation involving the restaurant's popular chicken sandwich, which is back on the menu after a hiatus. ABC affiliate WJLA reports the stabbing took place at 6247 Livingston Road in Oxon Hill, Maryland. Oxon Hill is located in Prince George County, Maryland. The restaurant is now closed. And that's pretty much all they do. They're not going to show any videos. Well, they haven't. Okay, they got some more reading. Police have confirmed that there was a fight at the scene and an adult was stabbed to death. The violence was over a chicken sandwich. Prince George County police say the victim was found in the parking lot, suffering from stab wounds. He was taken to the hospital where he died. Police say they're still working to determine the suspect and the motive. So the person got away. That's even worse. Couple things from this. So, let me go to the comment in the group, in the chat, and then I'll get into it. Never liked Popeye's new chicken sandwich. Personally, I was mad they removed the po' boys for the new chicken sandwiches. Businesses are going to do business and promote how they can. You didn't see a lot of marketing for this product, but it hit the waves and it hit the scenes and it like bloomed out of nowhere. We were to blame for that. JV, I'm not answering that question. Not on my platform. I don't have a platform to say what I think is in it. I'm not going to say steroids. I'm not going to say anything HGH. I'm just going to say it's something that is mentally stimulating people's minds to make them act stupid. I don't know if it's some type of addiction, whatever it is. And I know I'm, like I said, I won't go say it, but now I'm throwing options to what I think it is. Whatever it is, it should not be, it's not that serious. I'm not losing my life over a sandwich. Or I'm not going to wait. I'm not going to spend over 10 minutes waiting for food that is not, unless it's having to be cooked and prepared. In a sandwich case, no. Not a fast food place, not 10 minutes. No, I'm cool. Like KFC's chicken sandwich didn't even get this much hype. Chick-fil-A has been doing the sandwich for a while, and personally, I've been okay with the spicy chicken sandwich for a while at KFC. As a matter of fact, I couldn't tell you the last time I've gotten food from Popeyes. Now that I think about it, like it's been a minute. Like I'm trying to think. Like I think I took someone to a Popeyes and took them home, and that was it. Like I didn't get anything. It's been a minute. I don't think I just don't. Some things you just know to avoid. I'll put it like that. Some things you just know to avoid, and I personally have been avoiding the plague of the sandwich, and I'm good. I'm really truly good. For some, I know I'm like kind of delayed and quiet about saying anything about this, but I'm good. So yeah, Timothy, I've never had the sandwich. I don't plan on having the sandwich. I'm fine. Even before this happened, like the stories about it were funny and some of them were just like out of control. Cause I think we even had an ass of the week one time where somebody like was promised to get a sandwich and they didn't get it when they got to the store and they were ready to, they sued the store for not getting the sandwich. And I'm like, is it that serious? Like, are we to that point with something? But obviously we are, because if we weren't, I wouldn't be talking about this. But, to the victim who was stabbed, thoughts and prayers to them. Losing a life over a sandwich, it's not worth it. Like, and the person who caused the harm, I wish them, I'm really hoping that it was worth it. Like, I'm not saying it in a rude way. It just, like, something has to push you to that point, even if it was something. And I'm being hypothetical here. You'd better have already had the sandwich before for you to be that desperate to get another one. Or if you're really in that need, just get 2 sandwiches and leave. Like, don't sit there and like you got to get a sandwich and then wait a couple hours. Man, I got to go back and get another sandwich. No. Yes, I personally feel like there's mind control over people with the sandwich. It's not worth it, but obviously it is because we wouldn't be talking about this. So that's all I have on that story. The other story is not going to be it's not going to be an ass of the week. It's going to be more of a pass of the week. And I happen to get this story shared with me out of the blue, and it just reached the timeline, and I was like, I may as well get into it. This is also a food related story as well. Let me see if I get the actual story. It's probably gonna be like a CNN story. No, y'all not gonna give me the story. That is so whack. A Buffalo Wild Wings manager died and 13 people were hospitalized after exposure to toxic cleaning product fumes. So we're gonna do this the easy way. I know they won't let me be great. I think it was on Time magazine, so I'm gonna. So it looks like it was an accidental mix of acid and bleach. Wow, it's crazy. Buffalo Wild Wings employee who tragically died on Thursday after he was exposed to fumes from a floor cleaner in a Massachusetts restaurant has been identified. Interim Burlington Fire Chief Michael Patterson confirmed in a press release on Friday that Ryan Baldera of Lawrence was the victim of the tragic chemical accident in Burlington. He's worked at the restaurant as their general manager. Friends and coworkers told Boston 25 News that Baldera had gotten married last year and recently became a new father to a baby boy. On Friday, Patterson said in preliminary investigation conducted by the Occupational Safety and Health Administration that a second employee had applied two substances, Super 8 and Scale Clean, to the kitchen floor while attempting to clean it. The two substances reacted with one another, creating toxic fumes. So this is kind of an ass of the week too, because you just should not be mixing stuff. I know you're trying to make an area clean, but you're not trying to make an area clean enough to kill people, like, or catch enough fumes to cause people to like really have to go to the hospital. Super 8 contains sodium hypochlorite, which the interim fire chief said was a high concentrate of chlorine and is a common product used for floor cleaning. As the second employee ran out of the restaurant to go get fresh air, Baldera stayed behind and attempted to drain the substance out of the building. Meanwhile, emergency responders were called to the scene for a report about a chemical reaction in the kitchen area and arrived at the venue just after 5:30 p.m. Baldera eventually went outside, where authorities said he was suffering from nausea. He was then transported to a local hospital where he later died. A total of 12 individuals also checked themselves into LaHaye Hospital once the product was released, while a 13th person self-checked into a Lowell area hospital shortly after the incident. The patients included both restaurant employees and patrons, he wrote in the press release. Their symptoms included difficulty breathing and burning feelings in the eyes. All of the patients have since been released from the hospital. The chemical incident is still under investigation by the Burlington Police and Fire Departments. Authorities are urging anyone else who was in the restaurant at the time and believes they may have been impacted to seek medical treatment. And they get more information about that. Man, that's some crazy chemicals. Was the chemical in that is what they put in the chicken sandwich? I'm not going to say nothing because I don't want to start my show. But to the man who was lost due to this, thoughts and prayers to him. Those who have received harm or hurt from this, that's a frustrating situation as well. I just hope nobody get reckless and decide to say I'm gonna sue Buffalo Wild Wings because of this happening, but I wouldn't be surprised if they did or if they didn't. And that's kind of all I have on that story. And now our message to pass on, and I have it as a simple message, and it'll kind of be a breakdown of my week and my life. So we're going to just talk about it because I know I went through quite a bit. Don't doubt your blessings. What do you mean by doubting your blessings? A lot of times we are guilty of not being mindful of how blessed we are or how great things are in our lives. We look at where things are and where we want them to be. And if they're not at this point and in this place, then it's all over and life as we know it is over. And I understand that 100%. The challenging part is when that occurs and the opposite end of it hits where your life is starting to come together. How you piece those things together and realize that life isn't as bad as it seems. You begin to realize that you shouldn't doubt how blessed you are or how loud you can be with making noise like I am. But I'm saying this and I'm putting this as the passive message today because I went through quite a bit in the last week, 2 weeks, whatever you want to pin it. Because literally 2 weeks ago, I was like, I don't think I'm going to pass this class. I don't know what I'm going to do about a car. It was so many things that I was worried and concerned about. And here it is now. I've completed the class. I'm in new classes. I wasn't sure I was going to get school to be paid for. That's been paid. That's covered as long as I do my part. And I have to follow a couple things afterward. But in all hindsight, in all honesty, and in all fairness, everything has just come together. And I've just been really humbled by realizing that I just need to stop tripping. And sometimes you get forced to think about how much you are tripping when you realize how hard you are tripping. And people will bring you back to earth in a second. I've had friends who have talked to me to kind of get me out of my space, and that's helped out. I've been working to get out of my space, and that's helped a lot. I'm hoping within the next week or two, I can get back to some athletic activities. Like someone posted this, and I've seen this post online multiple ways from multiple people. And I'm going to share this as a message to people who are listening to the podcast. It's currently November the 9th, 2019. You should not be planning for January 1st, 2020. You should be planning for November 9th, 2019. For whatever reason, we're so gun-ho to look at, you know what, whatever happens in this year, I'm just going to deal with it and suck it up and just go on into the next year. And Timothy just responded in the chat. He just said, great message. We shouldn't get wrapped up in material possessions for happiness or worried about circumstances that's beyond our control. God will work everything out in your favor, which scares people. That scares people a lot because we spend so much time worrying about it not working out that it works out. 90% of what we worry about never happens. Like I realized that more and more the older I get when I heard that as a message. But we have to take time and really know if it's meant to work out, it's going to work out. And most of the time it does. You just got to be patient with the process. And the patience is where we put ourselves in a hole, but we also fight the hole at the same time, if that's a good way to put it. So that's the message I'm passing to y'all today is don't doubt your blessings. Value the people who are doing the right things. If people around you ain't doing stuff that you aren't a fan of, don't fight them about it. Let them do what they're doing and let them learn it on their own because you had to learn on your own too. And that's kind of almost a teaser of what I'm going to blog about on Monday. And I'm just going to leave it at that. So thank y'all for being supporters. Anyone who's been in an Instagram video, live video, anyone that's listening to the podcast, anyone that's given feedback, anyone that's reached out to me, anyone that's done something small or big towards me becoming a better podcaster, I do appreciate it. I may not say it all the time, but I really do appreciate what has been done or what has been said. So that's all I got. That's where I'm going to wrap it up. Hopefully y'all can go back and you'll listen to this show and not think that I'm as crazy as I think I am. But after that whole load management, you may stick to those thoughts, and I'm okay with that. But until next time, this is The Pass signing out. I'm your host, BT. Y'all take it easy. Another episode is in the books. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. As I always share, if you'd like to get into podcasting, you can check out Spreaker.com. And if you're looking to invest in a microphone or if you're looking to genuinely start with recording, I use the Blue Yeti microphone, but you may prefer to do the Samson Meteor. Just know that if it's your craft and it's something that you're meant to do it and do it well. That's my main thing to tell people about 2019. Do it and be reliable. Y'all take it easy.